Homestead with Jess. Today I am going to do a continuation video on the chicken that I've been canning. If you haven't checked out that video yet, go ahead and look in the description box below. I'll give you that link. But today we're going to go ahead and do chicken stock. So follow along and I'll show you how I do my chicken stock. So first of all, I just have a very large pot, and what I'm going to do is cut a couple onions in half. This does not have to be pretty for making stock. Get those thrown in there. I'm going to throw some celery in there. Tops and all, it don't matter. You'll get the flavors from all that. And then the ends, I always leave for my hogs. Put that to the side. Now, I went ahead and baked 2 chickens in the oven at 350 degrees for an hour and a half. They're not all the way cooked. They're not for eating right away. But they are cooked enough for me to be able to tear them apart and shred them. In this, I put a whole jar, an 8-ounce jar of stock and carrots. So I'm going to take my carrots out of here and go ahead and transfer those over to my stock pot. What I'm going to do is add my spices. Just a tip to make this a little less messy. I usually use a flour sack cloth and put all my spices in, bunch it up, and tie it off with a rubber band and drop it in my stock pot with all my spices. I don't have one available right now, or at least not one I want to tear up. So I'm just going to add my spices directly in my stock pot, and then I'll strain everything out when the stock is done. So we're going to do a tablespoon of salt. Now, as this cooks down, I might need to add more salt, but for now, a tablespoon is good. I'm going to add 3 bay leaves, a tablespoon of peppercorns, probably a teaspoon of thyme, a tablespoon of turmeric. Am I missing anything? My garlic. We'll do a teaspoon of garlic. This is the rest of this jar, so just add that in. And then the next thing that needs to be done is to take the skin off the chicken and start shredding this chicken up and get it in our stock pot. So I'm going to get this done, and then when I have this shredded up and ready to go, I'll get back with you. Alright everyone, so I've got the chicken pulled apart. I just want to show you what I have going on. So this is the chicken I pulled apart, and I'm going to can. This broth that the chicken was cooked in, after I get this chicken into the cans, this broth will be dumped into the homemade stock I'm making. The skin from the chicken will go to the dogs. I will add some water to this stock before I put it on the stove. And also, I forgot to add in my onion skins. A couple of weeks ago, I was cutting up vegetables, and I told you whatever ends, skins, or whatever that you could save to pop into a Ziploc baggie, freezer baggie, and put in the freezer. This is where we use this. This is what will give us that beautiful yellow color in the chicken stock. So now I just got to add water to this and get it on the stove. Alright everyone, so I have my chickens packed, the chicken packed into the jars. I put a teaspoon of salt in each jar. Now because this is not raw packed, we need to add a liquid to it. Whatever liquid you would like to add, it's up to you. I would not suggest adding water just because that depletes the taste and flavor. What I am going to go ahead and add is my onion stock. Don't forget to debubble. We're also shooting for 1/4 head space on these jars. We are going to wipe our rims with white vinegar. Make sure that they don't have any grease or oil on them or debris. And let's pop our lids and rings on, finger tight. And these are ready to go into the canner for 90 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure in Ohio. I'm going to take this chicken's, the juices and the fat and everything from the 2 chickens we cooked, and I'm going to put this in my stock pot. I'm going to get these jars of chicken in the canner and get them canned, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to move on to the next step for the chicken broth. Alright everyone, so my chicken broth has been on the stovetop simmering for 48 hours, 2 days. So now it's time to strain it out. I'm going to have Barrett manhandle my pot. It's a pretty good sized pot, so he's going to strain that for me and then we'll get that canned up. I have a mesh strainer here, and then I have a flour sack cloth on top. I'll put that in the pot. Barrett's going to strain the chicken broth for me. Thanks, babe.
Yep.
Now that I have everything organized, I have my lids, my rings, my vinegar, my paper towels, and my funnel out. I'm going to start pulling my pint jars out of the oven. I preheated my jars at 250 for 15 minutes to sterilize them and get them hot. Since my broth is hot, you have to use hot jars. So I'm going to go ahead and start pulling those out, and also make sure you get your pressure canner warmed up as well. Everything needs to be warm when you're canning warm food. So this is warm broth. You need a warm canner and warm jars. Alright, let's start filling these up. Now the reason this is so golden brown is all those onion skins we put in there. Also the turmeric that we put in here help the color as well. We're going to wipe the rims with white vinegar. We'll put our lids on. Remember, these are really hot, so be careful. Finger tight. We'll get these first 2 in our canner to make sure they stay nice and warm. And I'm going to continue filling my jars, and I'll bring you back when my canner's full. I have my canner full, and I ended up having to put a second canner on because I didn't have enough room. Also, I want to let you know, instead of putting a canning rack, see down there, I don't have a canning rack in either one of these canners. The reason why Why I don't put the canning rack in is because I can get more jars in my canner if I use a flour sackcloth. If you decide to do this, just remember to make sure that the jars are not touching the bottom of the canner. They will crack and break and it will be a mess. So make sure the flour sackcloth is spread out and the jars are not touching the bottom of the canner. I just wanted to show you, I still have quite a bit of broth left. Probably, I'd say another canner full. So as soon as these canners are done, I will bring you back and show you me pulling them out of the canner. And then also we'll be starting another batch of chicken broth. I also want to let you know that I will be pressure canning my chicken stock for 75 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure for Ohio. Make sure you check what altitude you need to pressure can your chicken stock. Alright everyone, so I was able to get all my jars out of the canner. I got 13 pints of chicken broth. Now I went ahead and put my last batch into the pressure canner, and I got 7 more jars. So I have a full canner. Now the only difference I did with this batch is I let the canner cool down completely. It's not hot at all to touch. Because the broth was sitting, it got cold, so I let everything come back down to being cold. So that's the only difference I did here. Now I'm going to go ahead and pressure can this and get this all done. And I want to thank you so much for hanging in there with me as I made my chicken broth. I hope to see you soon. Bye.